Well, guys, just wanted to come on and talk a little bit about Dominic Thiem. Congratulations taking out Roger Federer at Indian Wells. I started the before the tournament talking about are the young guns. The next,
Congratulations
taking
out Roger Federer
turn this sound
at
off.
Indian Wells.
But anyway, I just wanted to congratulate Dominic, and we talked earlier in the week about are the young guns going to show up, and Dominic's kind of like he's an in-betweener. He's 25 years old, so he's certainly not a new guy on the tour, and has been somebody who's been working extremely hard for a moment like this, and I am proud of him. I was rooting for Roger Federer. I think most people are rooting for Roger Federer. John's on here saying unreal. But I think most people, still love Roger, want to see Roger win whenever he steps on the court. But at the same time, I think this is a great day for tennis. And certainly, if anybody deserves a moment like this, it's Dominic Thiem. This guy is well known to be one of the hardest working tennis players on the tour. One thing that's kind of cool is you can go to his YouTube channel and you can watch him train, and you can see that the guy is dedicated. He's passionate. He works extremely hard. Yeah, but this was a courageous for Thiem. That's right. It was a great moment, I think, for tennis. And what I think even is kind of cool about it is Roger Federer seemed to be, of course, disappointed they lost, but he seemed to be generally happy for Dominic and for tennis. And in his press conference, or not the conference, but in the trophy presentation, Roger Federer seemed okay. He seemed happy. He seemed grateful. And we're having some people come on right now, and it says it's bittersweet. And that's exactly how I feel about it. Anytime I see Roger Federer step on the court, I want to see him win a title. I want to see him win one more. It's like, as Federer fans, we get greedy. We always want to see him holding the trophy. Let's see, John West. Fantastic win for Thiem. Just disappointed again. So many breaks begging for Roger Federer. Yeah, so Roger Federer, he had his chances, which again, for Fed fans is great and bittersweet, knowing that Federer is still right there at the very top of tennis, still has his chances to win the biggest tournaments in the world. But of course, how many chances is he going to have, over these next couple of years? We know that the window is closing on Roger, and every time he's in a final, we want to see him just, stack up that trophy collection. But let's just kind of get into the match. It started out, if you're a Federer fan, it started out great. It looked like Federer was feeling the game very well. It looked like, a little bit of nerves from Dominic Thiem. He looked a little slow to react, and that's what Federer does really well, is in big moments, you get on the court with Roger, and he shows you how quick he can speed up play. He takes the ball extremely early. He stays right on the baseline, and he puts a lot of pressure on you. And in the beginning, he was very, very sharp with that. But as the match went on, especially in that second set, I think what we're seeing, and this is where I really want you guys to comment on, is the way that they are slowing down all these courts right now. It is going to be harder and harder for Roger to win tournaments like Indian Wells. It's going to be harder and harder to win the U.S. Open, the Australian Open, certainly the French Open. I don't think anybody really thinks Roger is going to win. And even at Wimbledon, they're making all these tournaments much, much slower. And so Thiem was ready for Roger's offensive tactics, says Andrew. So that's exactly what it is. I mean, now, but here's the thing. Even 3 or 4 years ago, would Thiem have won this match? Because each year they're slowing down the court that much more. And so now, players like Dominic Thiem can play more like they're playing on a clay court. Look how far. There was a couple of times in a row, big points, where Roger hit a kick serve and came to the net, and they were great serves, and Thiem was able to stand like 20 feet behind the baseline and hit backhand winning passing shots, just bludgeon the ball. And would that happen on a faster surface? I think what I notice is Federer has so much game, but in that third set, he played really well, but he didn't have that extra gear to go to power-wise. Federer, he's got different tactics he can run. He can serve and volley. He can, play close to the baseline. He can chip. He can flatten the ball out. He can mix up his game. He can hit the drop shot. So he's got different shots he can use. But I thought the real difference maker in the match was that Dominic Thiem had another power gear to go to. It was very interesting. In the first set, he was hitting the ball an average of 74 miles an hour on the forehand. Then in the second set, it went up to 77. Then they were saying in the third set, Dominic Thiem, this is crazy. He was hitting his ball for like 3 or 4 games in a row, like 89 miles an hour. The average ball was 89 miles an hour on his forehand. And as much as I love Federer, he just doesn't have that gear to go to. And he relies on his gears are taking the ball on the rise, taking the timing, putting the pressure on you, taking time away. But with these courts the way they are now, it's not working as well. It's because the ball is slowed down now when it's hitting the ground instead of speeding up and going through the court. So this is, I think I'm not making excuses. Somebody said I'm making excuses for Federer. I am not making excuses for Federer. It just is what it is I'm saying now the way the courts are being made is it's favoring more this heavy power game. Dominic Thiem has an interesting combination of extreme topspin, kind of like a Rafael Nadal, and extreme power. Being able to hit the ball 89 miles an hour, is crazy on average. That's usually like someone's final knockout blow. But he was the one he did it time and time again. His average shot started to be that. So that's pretty incredible when you can do that. And so I thought that was a difference in the match. I'm going to read some comments. Indian Wells is getting a very gritty court, says Andrew. That's right. So it's gritty. So it's becoming more like the clay courts. I was at Indian Wells last weekend. Now that's kind of cool, John. Let's see any more comments. Diego, do you think Roger will surpass the 109 titles that Connors has? He certainly could because he's playing. The good news is Roger's playing an extremely high level of tennis where he is playing obviously top 5 tennis in the world. He almost won his 2nd title of the year, which that would have been the most out of anybody. And now, which is kind of incredible, kind of interesting, is no one's won 2 titles this year. So everybody has a title. Well, everybody who's won a title, that's it. No one owns 2 titles this year. So the year is not being dominated by one particular player. And Roger Federer is certainly playing great tennis. But what I'm noticing is in the matches that he's losing, it's the same formula over and over again. It's these people who can hit big, heavy balls, and Roger can't put the ball away in the big moments. In the big moments of this match, what really killed Roger is he went to that drop shot twice in a row. The first one, Thiem made an incredible get, and I thought it was actually a really good drop shot. The second one, Roger hit a drop shot that was not so great. And if you noticed, when Roger was getting really, really tired against Millman, remember Millman at the U.S. Open? Roger went to the drop shot too many times. And why is Roger and a lot of these players, a lot of these players are going to the drop shot more and more often. They're like living and dying with a drop shot. And why is that? Because the competition is staying further behind the baseline, playing incredible defense. You can't hit through them. And so the drop shot, when you execute it perfectly, works. But it's got to be executed perfectly, and it's very hard to do on big points, and it's hard to do over and over again. So let's see here. Super Sub Pete, Tennis Files. Do you think this foreshadowing of the big French Open performance? Okay. All right. Tennis Files. Very, very good. That's my buddy. He's getting ready to come up with his tennis summit. So I think that's a big point that the Tennis Files has made up. My buddy Maribon there is. I think this is a huge moment for Dominic Thiem. Let's look ahead. First of all, I thought that why I was happy for Dominic is he had a big moment at the U.S. Open this year against Rafael Nadal. It was one of the best matches I've ever seen. And I thought that that was a big, huge match that he needed to break through and win that match. And losing that match, there was no real second place, you know, where you can look and go, oh, it's just a learning experience. I thought he really needed to win that match because you got to break through in some of these big moments. And it was kind of cool that he had a second chance to redeem himself against another legend, Federer, and he did. And now he's just got to get through the Sony Ericsson, whatever he does there, that's fine. But now they're heading to the clay court season, and he's got to be one of the heavy, heavy favorites because we don't know how Rafael Nadal is going to react to his knee injury. We're of course hoping, you know, for tennis and for Rafa fans. I'm a Rafa fan. I love all these guys. They're just incredibly awesome people, players. You know, but you don't know how that knee is going to react. You just can't always just expect that, oh, these guys are just going to automatically get over injuries like this. I mean, at some point, the injuries just wear you down. And so if Rafa can't come back and be 100%, I think Dominic Thiem and Novak Djokovic are the two best clay court players in the world after Rafael Nadal. So if Rafael Nadal is not 100%, I would, you know, it's going to be very interesting, and I would like to see. I'm really hoping that Dominic Thiem can actually take advantage of this and turn it into something bigger. I know winning Indian Wells is really big, but I want to see. I am ready. I love Roger. I love Novak. I love Rafa. I am ready to see a new guy win one of these things, and I think that Dominic Thiem is the perfect guy to win. I really want him to win because why? Because he works really hard. The guy works his ass off. Go to his YouTube channel. Look at him train. He has a reputation of playing the most tournaments on tour. You know, his team lots of times have told him that, look, you got to chill out. You can't play every week in a tournament. So he loves to play. He's been working hard, and now he's 25 years old, okay? So now he's getting to the moments where if you're going to be a champion, you've got to be a champion. You've got to win. So he has got to take this momentum and turn it into a Grand Slam title. If he doesn't do it this year, there's no guarantee he ever will, okay? So I think that this is a defining moment in his career, and it will be interesting to see if he capitalizes on it or if he does what it seems like all these people are doing. Whenever they kind of have a big moment, they tend to fall back into the herd. And then when the Grand Slam titles are being handed out, it's either Novak, Roger, or Rafa. And if that's going to change, this could be a really big moment. Okay, let's see. John says he's managing the amount of his play now. I saw him training with Nicholas Massou in Indian Wells. Yeah, Nicholas Massou, congratulations. That's your first tournament with him. Did a great job. Massou has 2 gold medals, and he was a grinder out there. Thiem has Dimitrov, same faith. I wish, but I don't think he will go all the way, says Diego. Yeah, that's going to be interesting, guys. Hey, if you like this live stream, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you've never been on our channel. What our channel is all about. It's all about tennis, especially a lot of tennis instruction. But I do like to come on and react to these big moments in tennis. And I think today was a big moment. And we'll have to see how big a moment it is. I think that Diego made a good point, is that we've seen this before. This Indian Wells is a huge tournament, guys, but when it really comes out to a predictor of how the rest of the year will go, it really isn't, because, you know, after Miami, they go to the clay. And so it like completely changes up the tour. But this time it might not, because the hard courts are playing slower, and one of the best clay court players in the world has just won Indian Wells. And so I'm hoping, for his sake, for his career, and for passing the guard off to the game, right? To passing the mantle off to the younger players, I am hoping that Dominic Thiem takes this moment, stays injury-free, keeps building his confidence, keeps training hard, stays focused, and wins the French Open. Dominic, I want you to win the French Open this year, right? I love Rafa, but I mean, does tennis really need to see him hold number 12? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, Rafa is the greatest clay court player ever by far, by far. If he loses the French Open this year, that's not going to be tarnished, okay? Roger Federer, one of the greatest players in the history of tennis by far. Him losing today has no effect on his legacy. He is still a legend, and just the fact that he's playing so great at 37 is a freak show, right? Novak Djokovic, whether he wins or loses the French Open this year, it's a little bigger for him because he is chasing Rafa and Roger. So Novak, out of those three, you know, he's got the momentum. He won the Australian Open, and he is wanting to make his claim that he can be the GOAT. So I think, you know, out of the three legends, it's most important for Novak Djokovic to win the French Open this year. But who I really would love to see is I want to see Dominic Thiem hold that trophy. So let me know what you think. That's right. Indian Wells and Miami are boosters. Isner won Miami and reached the semifinals last year. That's true. That's true. And he was so close to the finals. So I'm hoping that this will really boost his confidence. And, you know, it'll be interesting. And it's also going to be interesting going forward for Roger Federer, because obviously when you're getting to the semifinals and the finals, whoever you're playing is playing a high level of tennis. They're playing really great tennis. And it seems that the people that Roger's meeting are the people that have the style play that Roger has a tough time against. They're people who hit a heavy ball, and they can just hit the ball a little harder. Roger has better timing than them. He can pick the ball off the ground, which puts the play right on you. I don't know if you've ever played anybody who's really good at taking the ball on the rise, but it really speeds up the play, especially if you're playing on a court where the ball doesn't bounce as high and goes through the court, like a carpet court, or, you know, like the US Open and all these other hard courts where 5, 6, 7 years ago, the ball scoots right through you. It's on you real fast. Well, I think what we saw is happening now is when you first get on the court with Roger, if you're playing a very high level of tennis, the speed sneaks up on you. It takes a while to get used to, but once you get used to Roger taking the ball on the rise, you kind of get used to the rhythm of his hitting, and you can overpower him if you are one of the few players in the world who can do that. I'm not saying a bunch of people can do that, but there are players in the world who can do that. Rafa can do that. Novak Djokovic can do that. Stan Wawrinka used to do that, but Roger pretty much had his way with Stan Wawrinka. Dominic Thiem did that today. That was the difference. The difference was in set one, Dominic Thiem was hitting his forehand 74 miles an hour, and in set three, he was hitting the forehand 89 miles an hour. That's all you need to know. That was it. And Roger had some chances and didn't convert. Dominic Thiem also hit some really nice shots when Roger had some chances, and that was the difference maker. So it'll be interesting to see. Okay, not surprising. Surprising is his lack of winners. He had more unforced errors than defensive players. I mean, yeah, it's hard to hit. It's harder and harder to hit winners, guys, on these surfaces. It just is. It took an 89-mile-an-hour forehand to break through and start hitting the winners. I paid thousands of dollars to join Lubitschek to help out Roger. Okay, what would you do? Diego, what would you do? What can Roger do different? I really don't know at this point in his career what Roger is going to do differently. I mean, the only thing I could think of is, does he, for a little bit, one thing he did in the first set, he did it on a couple points where he stood back and he hit a high spinny return, backed Dominic Thiem up, and then he took the ball on the rise. Like the rest of the match, Roger was just like right on the baseline. So maybe the only other gear dimension to the game that Roger can experiment with is maybe moving back like some of these guys, hitting some heavy balls, and then moving in on the court and speeding up play. Right now the way he's playing is he's serving volley. He's pretty much taking everything right off the bounce. So it's a hard way. That's such hard timing to do against somebody who's just bludgeoning the ball against you. It's hard to do that for an entire match and 3 out of 5 sets against somebody who's on their game. Okay. And if you're getting to the semifinals and finals of a big tournament, the person who you're playing against is playing very, very high level tennis. Better his down the line. He had some pretty good down the line backhands, I thought. What do you think Roger should work on to win the match next time? The only thing I can think of is maybe Roger should have played some heavy balls, played a little more loopy balls sometimes just to change the rhythm up. So when he takes the ball on the rise, it is more of a surprise. It more shocks you. I think the difference in the match was Dominic Thiem started to get used to seeing every ball being taken on the rise, and he got used to the timing of Federer doing that, and then he just overtook him with power. I thought that was it. So that's what I saw. That's what I saw, guys. Thanks so much for checking this out. If you've never seen our channel before, make sure you subscribe. You'll see lots of instruction videos coming this week. And that's all I've got to say. It was a great match. I'm a little sad for Roger, but I'm like a little sad for Roger because Roger's had some great, great moments. He's had an unbelievable career. And I think that this was a good day for tennis, a great day for Dominic Thiem. And Dominic, take advantage of this moment, stay healthy, stay confident, and win the French Open this year. Take care, guys. Have a great night.